Hello everyone. Today we will begin with public and private Roman architecture circa 509 BC to 337 AD. Let us understand what shall our objectives be in this chapter. Acquaint about the significance of Roman secular art and architecture. Know and appreciate the significance of the historical and cultural context of these architectural pieces. Learn and understand the relationship between the arts and the times during which they were created. Understand the Roman point of view on art and architecture. Encounter significant works of secular Roman architecture. Understand and appreciate the role of values, beliefs, and ideas in shaping secular Roman architecture. In this chapter, we shall look at the following: Introduction, materials, domestic architecture, public buildings like the Colosseum, public baths, etc., and finally the Roman city. While accommodating the expanding territories and population, and also to clarify the state and the emperor, the Romans carried out extensive building programs. They assimilated the contemporary architectural styles of the Greeks and Etruscans, and also built upon their engineering strengths through learning and other methods. They also recognized the potential of certain building materials, particularly concrete, which allowed them to construct the monumental public buildings that are an important part of Roman legacy. So, what was new in this period? High population densities in cities along with wealth forced the Romans to create newer architectural solutions. The use of vaults and arches, together with a sound knowledge of building materials, enabled them to create imposing public structures and achieve unprecedented success in their construction. Examples include the aqueducts of Rome, the baths of Diocletian and the bath of Caracalla, the basilicas and Colosseum. They were reproduced at smaller scale in most important towns and cities in the empire. Some surviving structures are almost complete, such as the town walls of Lugo in Hispania and Tarraconensis or northern Spain. One key factor in the construction of these public buildings was that they must perform a public function. The Pantheon is an example of this, particularly in the version rebuilt by Hadrian, which remains perfectly preserved and which over the centuries has served, particularly in the Western Hemisphere, as the inspiration for countless public buildings. While the discovery of arch facilitated the building of the many aqueducts throughout the empire, the dome permitted construction of vaulted ceilings without cross beams and provided large covered public space such as public baths and basilicas. The triumphal arch, one of the major inventions of Romans, was transformed and utilized within the Christian basilicas when the Roman Empire of the West was on its last legs. The arch was set before the altar to symbolize the triumph of Christ and the afterlife. The arch is seen in aqueducts, especially in many surviving examples such as the Pont du Gard and aqueduct at Segovia, and remains of the aqueducts of Rome itself. Their survival is testimony to durability of their materials and design. Before we proceed further, let us understand what is an arch, dome and a vault. Just as the Romans recognized the potential of concrete, which had been invented in the ancient Near East, so too they developed the arch and the vault, which had previously been used in the ancient Near East and Etruria. The round arch may be thought of as curved lintel used to span an opening. A true arch is constructed of tapered, wedge-shaped bricks or stones called vosua, with a keystone at the center. The point at which the arch begins to curve from its vertical support is called the springing, because it seems to spring away from it. The arch creates an outward pressure or thrust, which must be countered by a supporting buttress of masonry. The arch is basis of the vault, an arched roof made by continuous series of arches forming a passageway. A row of round arches produces a barrel or tunnel vault, so called because it looks like the inside of half a barrel or the curved roof of a tunnel. It requires continuous buttressing and is a difficult structure in which to make openings for windows. Vaults formed by a right-angled intersection of two identical barrel vaults are called groin or cross vaults. Arches and vaults have to be supported during the process of construction. This is usually done by building over wooden frames known as centerings, which are removed when the keystone is in place and the mortar has set. A dome is made by rotating a round arch through 180 degrees on its axis. In its most basic form, it is a hemisphere. As is true of arches and vaults, domes must be buttressed, and since their thrust is equally dispersed in all directions, the buttressing must be from all sides. Ancient Roman domes, such as the one on the Pantheon, were generally set on round bases. Let us understand the kind of materials used. Romans used many different materials to build. The most popular material used was mud brick, strengthened by timbers. Common materials of Rome architecture were travertino, a kind of limestone, wood used for supports and roof beams, plaster, unbaked brick, marble used for columns, walls and upper portions of temples and public buildings, terracotta used for roof tiles and ornaments. The metals especially bronze, used for decorative details. Soon marble was replaced by tile-covered concrete, and more daring public buildings evolved as the pillars supported the broad arches and domes. Though concrete was used in Mesopotamia, Roman architects perfected the same to create strength for the building and support a greater deal of weight. Ancient Roman concrete was a mixture of lime mortar, sand with stone, rubble, puchlana, a volcanic ash of the region around Naples with lime, water and stones. These ingredients were placed in wooden frames where it hardened and bonded to a facing of stones or more frequently bricks. The wall became very strong afterwards and faced with attractive stucco or thin panels of marble or other colored stones called revetment. The architect was craftsman employed by the state or wealthy private clients. No distinction was made between the architect and building contractor. The architect designed the building, hired the laborers and craftsmen who built it, and was responsible for both its budget and its timely completion. Let us delve into the domestic architecture. The Roman domestic architecture was very sophisticated. Roman domestic, from the Latin word domus, meaning house. Architecture, though derived from Etruscan and Greek antecedents, developed its own features. The atrium was its chief feature, a large hall entered through a corridor from the street. The atrium roof usually sloped inward and a rectangular opening. The compluvium allowed rainwater to collect in an impluvium, a sunken basin in floor from which it was channeled into separate cistern. The compluvium was also the primary source of light in the domus. These houses had plain exteriors without windows. Additional rooms surrounding the peristyle included cubicula, bedrooms, slave quarters, wine cellars, and storage space. Rooms fronting on the street functioned as shops. Behind the unassuming facades were interiors that were often quite luxurious, decorated with floor and wall mosaics, paintings, and sculptures. The typical professional or upper class Roman house also had running water and sewage pipes. In the cities, Romans built concrete apartment blocks and tenements called insulae, the Latin word for islands, for the middle and the lower classes. These buildings were as high as 5 floors, with the ground floor for shops and other commercial activities, and upper families for residences. The families lived separately but shared common facilities such as the kitchen. The Romans also invented the country villa as an escape from the city. Villas varied according to the tastes and means of their owners, and naturally the most elaborate belonged to the emperors. As life in Rome and its provinces became increasingly complex, the need for public spaces and public buildings grew. They led to the development of two characteristic architectural types, the forum and basilicas. Like the Greek marketplace, the forum was typically a square or rectangular open space bounded on three sides by colonnades and on the fourth by basilica. The basilica, from the Greek word basilikos, means royal, was a huge roofed building, usually at one end of a forum. It was used for commercial transactions and also served as a municipal hall and law court. Colonnades on either side of the nave provided an articulated space for specializing people awaiting trial and for those transacting business. Roofing was made of timber and covered with tiles, and the interior was adorned with marble and bronze. Markets. The markets of Trajan were distinct for their innovative engineering and architecture. Their concrete core was faced with brick, with a few details in wood and stone. They were conceived as part of total urban innovation that included Trajan's Forum, which was faced with marble. Public baths. The Roman public bath was a cultural center, a place for socializing, bathing and swimming. It also provided facilities for playing ball, running and wrestling. Amenities included a cold room, a warm room, a hot room, steam rooms, changing rooms, libraries, gardens and a museum. Rome had 952 of them by the middle of the 4th century. Particularly magnificent were the baths of the Emperor Caracalla, who ruled from 211 to 217 AD. Let us turn to Colosseum. The Colosseum began in 72 AD under Vespasian and inaugurated in 80 AD by his son Titus, was primarily for public spectacles. Similar to the Greek amphitheatre, its exterior consists of arcades, rows of arches, with 3 stories of round arches framed by entablatures and engaged columns. The Colosseum was built around a concrete core with an extensive system of halls and stairways for easy access. 2 types of vault were used in the corridor ceilings: the simpler barrel vault and the groin vault. also called a cross vault. The upper wall was fitted with sockets into which poles were inserted as supports for canvas coverings. These were stretched by sailors across the open top of an arena to protect spectators from the hot sun and run. Colosseum was designed for gladiatorial contests and combats between men and animals or between animals alone. The Colosseum remains a monument to the political acumen of imperial Rome, providing violent spectacles as well as creature comforts for its citizens. Look at some more views.